Hello and welcome to the Legislative Update. I'm John Banville. Our guest this week is Senator Joe Robach. Senator Robach, thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah, good to have this opportunity, John, to talk a little bit about what's going on and hopefully inform the folks at home.
Before we go into the topics for the show, I'd like to discuss the fact that you are one of 10 New York State legislators, and just for our viewers at home, there are 211 of them statewide. You are one of 10 legislators who had perfect attendance, which back in school would have gotten you a gold star.
Right.
And now it's I'm hoping it gets you some credit and some expertise in various issues. Can you tell us a little bit about the perfect attendance and why you think it's important?
Sure. I mean, you know, I always think it's good. I mean, as long as it's fair and applicable, I think people through different medias are paying more attention to really what the legislature does, what they may not do, and what the people that represent them are doing as well. And I think for me that's a good thing. I'm proud of my work ethic. I'm proud of what I do in the district. But yes, a lot of this came from several media outlets that ran stories on the large amount of people who had missed huge amounts of voting or legislative days here in Albany. I was glad that I was at the other end of that list. I know Bob Oakes from our region to the east of me in the State Assembly also had perfect attendance. But I do think that you know, some people have kind of been making light of it or kidding it about it. But I do think it's our job to be there. I mean, we vote on very important things. We have the honor and privilege of representing almost 350,000 people, half of Monroe County for me. And so I think it is important that you make every effort to be there. And I really do think for the majority of my time in elected office, you know, I can't even think of a time other than perhaps my grandmother's funeral where I've missed any days in the legislature. And I think you have to prioritize that. While I love my time at home and in the district, we're elected to do both parts of that job. So you should get there. And for me, even though I'm not a kid anymore, I really do think it is a reflection of the work ethic, you know, given to me by my parents, who certainly led by example to say, you know, try to be early to work on time, make sure you do your job in a conscientious manner, and that you do it well. So we've always tried to do that, and I think this is just a continuation of that. And you know, it's good to let people know who you represent that you are there doing your job for them as you should do, and we're elected to do so. Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Well, it's important that the people know that their legislators are there and available whenever they're needed.
Sure.
I'd like to shift gears a little bit, talking about your job and jobs in general. One of the top issues that we've been discussing for a number of years has been the rebuilding of the economy in Western New York. Can you tell us, with the dysfunction in Washington and the fact that there's been a lot of gridlock, and the president is trying to create jobs at the national level, New York State has really been leading the way in coming up with a new way to create jobs and a new way to approach job development. And I know that you've been a very active part of that. Can you tell us a little bit of what has been happening in New York State to help grow jobs?
Yeah, there's no question. Whether you're at the federal level, you're at the state level, you're at the local level, not only for government, but, you know, for my neighbors, friends. I want to keep my children here in New York State. Nothing is more important probably than the economy and, you know, jobs. Now, ironically, and this is something else that's been sort of finally coming out in the media, which I just like accuracy and I think is good. While again, we're not where we want to be, I think that they said that the national unemployment average was at 10, New York was at 9, Rochester was at 7, and we're saying that, you know, some of our indicators are, you know, outpacing the rest of the nation. We want to make sure, or I do, and I think everybody does, wants to make sure there's ample opportunities and We know that if the economy's good, it kind of raises all the boats together, both people and their individual families and homes, as well as some of the challenges facing government. So that's critically important. And I know at the federal level, while they've argued over about reducing the deficit, some people think you have to spend money to revive the money. Others think you have to reduce taxes, incentivize business. There's a lot of ideas. New York here, we've kind of acted in two ways. One, I think, made a statement to businesses and individuals that we're not going to take more of their money, shut down the budget deficit last year, working in a bipartisan way with the governor, the Republican Senate leading the charge on shutting down that budget gap without raising any taxes or fees on business. The next step has really been the governor has created 10 regional councils around the state, headed up by Lieutenant Governor Duffy, the former mayor of our area, local guy, went to Aquinas, MCC, RIT, is now going to be heading those up, and they've named these boards. We have both Joel Seligman, the president of the University of Rochester, now coupled with the U of R Medical Center, Strong Memorial Hospital is the biggest employer in the Rochester area, and also Danny Wegman, who is the president of Wegmans Corporation, also a very big player and employer in our area, heading these up on the private side, along with a list of some great people, Ann Kress from MCC, people from Labor, Bob Brown, you name it, Teresa Mazzullo from Excel Partners. The list goes on and on of important people, big employers, a lot of the Chamber of Commerce folks working together in government to come brainstorm and put an application together of how we can better try to fine-tune and help our employment area. And it really could be anything. It could be big policy decisions. It could be infrastructure work. It might be something more specific to our area. There's, some, besides policy and lending the expertise of governmental offices to businesses, colleges, universities, hospitals. There's also going to be about $130 million in capital funding available for the whole state. Not really a huge amount of money, so we're going to have to really use it strategically. $70 million in tax credits that could go for housing or to offset investment, different things, and a number of other smaller things that may be used over the course of time to try and spur and stimulate jobs. I think you'll see, I went to the first meeting that they had, I think you'll see a very aggressive and specific package out of our regional council, Finger Lakes. And while we're not pitting one against the other, I think this is all about trying to have the private sector, government work together to really maximize, first and foremost, the limited resources that we have, but then also suggest what might, in a policy way or in a advocation way, help a specific area.
Senator Robach, I think it would be fair to say that most people feel that programs that come from the government are they come from the top on down, rather than responding to the needs of local governments, rather than responding to the needs of local businesses. A program would be created to fit the needs of, let's say, the governor. Do you feel that this, at least your experience with this council, is this a new philosophy, a new direction, kind of going from the bottom up, having the government listen to the private sector?
Right. Well, absolutely. Anybody that knows me or has followed my career at all knows I'm all about local autonomy. I wear it like a badge of honor, but have almost been criticized sometimes in Albany for being so much of a homer and putting Rochester and Monroe County first. But I think that's what we're supposed to do, and I think that's when things work out best. So what this process really does create, if done right, is really have legitimate dialogue and ideas from some of the major players and everyone involved in this process, and try to make it as big as possible, I think even everyday citizens could write in and say, you know, this is an idea, could you think about this? And I think that's good. But ultimately, and I guess there's no other way to do it, certainly the governor and his folks are going to be the ones that are reviewing these applications and making the final decision. So my answer really, John, is it's certainly not just the governor making the decision. He's going to be a critically important part in his people, his folks at Economic Development, Empire State Development, all those organizations. But if they don't listen to what locals have said here, I think they're going to have a very good reason why, and I think the process will be probably more open and more inclusive than it has in the past. And I always think, you know, that's good. Again, my purpose for being in government is how I can help carry the message, how I can be responsive to the people I represent in Rochester. I think the governor just has that amped up for the whole state, but certainly by breaking it down to regions, it makes it more likely that there will be a local, more specified flavor. The trouble is compared to some of the times in the past, you know, when we've had huge sums of money to give to certain projects, that's not there. So it has to be a little bit more strategic, and we have so much to build on. That's the good news in Monroe County. You know, our colleges, our universities, the medical center has gone great guns and has received a lot of assistance from state money, but it's really created jobs and brought more money in. We're in the middle phases. We've gotten some money, as well as RIT's money for the Center for Green Technology and Sustainability, which I think could create a lot of spin-off jobs and is something that certainly everybody is looking for. And we're looking to create a regional center somewhere in New York. I hope it'll be in Rochester. They're looking for some additional state dollars to finish that. I also noted, interestingly, while Rochester has seen a lot of downsizing in manufacturing from our big companies, if you look at the nation and they look at the pie of what makes up jobs, on average, 8% of every economy of every major metropolitan area is manufacturing. In Rochester, it's still 12. We still manufacture more than most places in the country our size. We have some good tool and die companies. We have great medical facilities. All the colleges and universities together, from our state colleges, Brockport, Geneseo, MCC, to our smaller privates, in addition to U of R and RIT, Fisher, Nazareth, Hobart, William Smith, really create and bring in a lot of money too from students, create a lot of jobs, not only in the teaching side, but on the facilities management, food, all that. Our food industry, with the Sands, from Constellation Brands, Wegmans, Barilla Pasta, beverage industry, big in our area. So we got a lot to build on, even some agriculture. So there's a lot to discuss, a lot to look at infrastructure. What the hope is, again, is at the end of the process, everybody, both in government, up to the governor, to the legislature, to our local folks, to private businesses, to everyday citizens, will be making some input on policies and decisions that we can make that will hopefully help build it. And while I'm glad that we're outperforming the rest of the country and the state in our area, you know, we'd like to see that unemployment rate down to almost nothing if humanly possible, which would benefit everybody.
Senator Robach, I want to thank you very much for being here this afternoon. I'm sure you'll be following up with us on how the regional councils go forward with their proposals. I want to thank you very much.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.